One of our guiding principles in the World Joy Movement is that each conversation, it's more about the context than the content. What that means is how we have the conversation and the way that we choose to relate with each other is more important than any particular story, any particular word, or any particular phrase that is said within the conversation. And just yesterday, we had an incredible experience of this here within the World Joy Movement. We ended up having a conversation, and that conversation was all around, it was an open forum to share your awakening story, the day that everything changed for you, the day that you saw life differently. And it started out as a conversation where it came in, a few members of the World Joy Movement had showed up, and I was setting the stage for the specific format of the open forum. During that time, I let people know about the way that we would conduct the conversation and that there was a certain time limit that I was going to put on. I wasn't going to be incredibly strict around it, but at the same time, there will be an indication with one finger up that was just inviting people to start wrapping up their share. It's a delicate balance of giving people a space to share as well as being able to hold the space so that there can be more shares involved as well. And so after that instruction there, an agreement from everyone else, we were getting ready to move into breakout rooms where people got a chance to go and connect with each other. And right before we entered the breakout room, a new member came and joined the conversation. And so we brought her up to speed with what we were about to do in the breakout rooms. And then we moved everyone into the breakout room. After they came back, we ended up having our conversation, and every person went and shared their experience. About 15 minutes before the end of the session, we came to the person who had joined right before we went into breakout rooms, and she started sharing. Her story was beautiful, it was touching, and it was moving. And at a certain point, I realized that I was really enrolled in the conversation, but there had been longer than the 5 minutes that we had allotted. And that wasn't necessary. And I realized that this person might have come in after the instructions were really set out. So I'm like, I need to still hold in for the rest of the members here, the space and to be in integrity with the intention that an agreement that we had set out beforehand. So as a leader, I then decided to put the hand up, the finger up there, and just put up the finger to signal, okay, let's bring this to a natural close. What ended up happening was the person saw the signal and closed their story down quite shortly afterwards. And here goes where like some real fun took place, right? So if you're paying attention here, there's some of the context of this finger here. There was the that speakers and members natural inclination to wrap up that portion of the conversation. And I came in next feeling some awkwardness in the air. Because it was clear that she still had more to say. It was wrapped up fairly quickly, and there was a space that I realized that I didn't know how to really be in integrity with both the value that we had for setting up the forum, giving her the space that's there, as well as holding up the space that we had originally decided to create. And so I addressed it live and put into the space that I recognized that she may not have known what the symbol was. And I asked her if she was complete. And she said, yes, I'm complete. I'm good for now. And then moved on to the next person, who was the last person who was going to speak during the time that we had allotted. And that person came in and just said, if you don't mind, Niyama, I would actually love to give my time back to the person who was just speaking. To me, it was clear that she wasn't finished sharing what needed to be shared, and there was more that needed to come out. And so she asked, she's like, would you mind, and not to me, but to the person who was speaking, would you mind if you use that time to finish anything else that you needed to say. And the person accepted, and we continued on. And honestly, I was absolutely floored by the content of what she said. There's some real impact in the words and the stories that she shared there, as well as the context that we had created for each other. And the context there being looking out and hearing what wasn't being said and seeing what someone wasn't trying to show. You see, later on, the person who passed the time back came out and said, like, I could see that there was something more that needed to be said here, and I could feel that in the air. And it was easy for me. I know we have the movement. We can have many other conversations. My story can come at any point. But right now, in this moment, what feels like it really needs to be done is to have this story be served. And I wanted to bring that out here as a living example as we continue to build out the World Joy movement, not just in how we have our conversation, but in the way that conversations could be had in and outside of our space. Where else in your world do you hold back on creating the space for someone else to bring their input into the sphere because it doesn't go with the rules that had been set out? How much are you listening and listen? It's interesting for me. It's like listening with your eyes to the temperature and to the people that are in there to see how much more space is necessary to actually move things forward, and to give people the space to be able to be actually heard and seen. How do you as a leader work in these environments where you're able to balance and integrate both the values that you had set out, the ways that the rules and guidelines that you had collectively agreed on, and when things happen in real time? These are some of the questions that we'd like to be able to explore and answer here within the World Joy movement, but not through a formulaic approach of when this happens, do X, Y, and Z. Instead, we have these conversations, we record them, we make them available, and we invite you to come be a part of them so that you can experience what it's like to be in these situations and to have a complete toolbox of ways that you can choose to move forward with it. So that in any given moment, you have even more dexterity and flexibility to serve what that moment needs and serve what that conversation and that person needs. We had some of the richest parts of conversation took place after that individual went on to continue her story. And we would have missed it. We would have missed that connection. We would have missed that in this space had someone not taken the initiative to speak up and share exactly what needed to be shared in that moment. Where can you bring more of your voice to continue to support what's taken place? I invite you, if you'd like to come and practice, come join us in the World Joy movement. Go to beworldjoy.com in order to come and join the movement platform. And if you're watching this on the platform, make sure to look at the upcoming events to see when you can join in our next conversation. I'll talk to you soon. Until then, be heard, be seen, be World Joy.
It's the World Joy movement. Yeah. What was your greatest insight from this conversation? And if you want to come and be a part of a conversation like this live, it's really simple. Just go to beworldjoy.com and come introduce yourself, and let's take the conversation to the next level because you're there now.
All right, let's play.